Hi friends, Ansley here from Bolts and Bites Maker Academy, back with another corn steam activity. I really like this one and I'm looking forward to showing you how to do it. This is a bowl made out of magazines. If you've watched some of our other videos, you've seen me use this bowl to hold rubber bands and toilet paper tube clippings for our flowers. And I wanted to show you how I made this cute little bowl out of nothing but magazines and Mod Podge and tape. So to begin with, you want to get one or several magazines depending on how big you want your bowl to be. Take off the front cover and start peeling off those pages on the inside. I've peeled off several pages in this magazine, and to me, it's just easier to peel them all out at one time and then to start building your chains from there. So here I have all the pages torn out of my magazine, and I want to talk about a couple different ways you could fold your pages in order to create your links that you're going to put together. The first way is going to give you something that kind of looks like this. It is just taking your magazine, folding in that corner, and then beginning to fold it in. Make sure that it's kind of a uniform fold, and you just keep folding over and over and over and over until you get a shape that's like this, nice and flattened out. This one happened to work out beautifully with a neat pattern on it. And then you would simply join the next magazine to it right there and tape them together like that. I didn't like this method. It just left a lot of meat in the middle. And so I chose not to go with that one, but you know, try it out, see how it works for you. The second method was to take the magazine and a skewer or a dowel or whatever you might have on hand, a pencil even, and just to roll it around that, creating a tube. And once you get your tube, once you get your dowel all rolled up in the magazine, you want to simply tape that edge right there. You could glue it if you wanted to. Tape that edge right there, and you end up with a nice tube that you then flatten out like this. Again, I didn't choose this method because, again, so much meat in the middle of it. And when you think about trying to roll this thing around, it makes it very cumbersome to roll, but it has great shape to it. So maybe for another project. And again, you would stick those together just by finding an open end and putting one end into the other. You could also take that method if you thought it was too fat the other way or too cumbersome, and take a half piece of paper like this and roll it up, and you'll get a nice skinny tube like this. I do like this one. I thought it was really nice. It rolls really nice. It does take some working with the material to really get it to roll really well. It doesn't just roll automatically. And just remember, you'll be rolling it and then you've got to be able to put another piece inside and keep going with that. So just think about that when you're making it. What I ultimately ended up doing was going with a very simple folding method. I took my magazine, folded it in half. Actually, I'm going to choose to use this side because I like the colors of it. So I'm going to fold it in half, fold it in half again. And this is where you can kind of look for what colors you want. I'm going to fold that in half again and see what kind of colors I'm going to get on the outside. I like those greens and blues. I think they would look really neat. And depending on where you want, you're going to fold this over like this. And you could either have a very wide strip, or you could fold it one more time fold it in on itself to make sure it's good and folded up like that, and have a skinny strip, which is how I did the first bowl I showed you. It was this nice skinny strip just like this, and it gives it a really good shape and is pretty solid, but not like the others where there's too much meat in the middle. It's very consistent across the whole thing. Once you do that, you can either keep folding a bunch of these, which is what I did. I folded a whole bunch and put them to the side in a bin, and then pulled them all out and moved on to the next step. So for the next step, I've taken all of those pieces that I've folded and I've taped them together. So you can see here, I've got 1, 2, this is my third piece, and I'm gonna take this next piece, I'm gonna join it where the white already is. So I'm just gonna open up where I folded, put it inside there, grab some tape, and tape it together. And I want to make sure I get the first piece and the piece I'm taping it to so that it holds together. I only really need to tape one side, but if you decide you want to tape that second side, that's completely up to you. And once I've done that, I'm going to fold those pieces over if I choose to have the skinnier side, or I can leave them open to have the fatter roll. Okay, so here's where we are going to begin to roll it. I'm gonna use my dowel or skewer or straw or pencil or marker, whatever you have on hand, and use it to help me start rolling it. Now, if I were going with the thinner size of strip, I might take my paper and cut it in half or tear it in half using a ruler, and that will give me a little bit thinner paper to work with. It'll also give me more chains, so you get double your chains, and that you may find that that's easier for rolling it. For me, I kind of like the wide part of it, and I wanted to try one that way, so I left it open like this, and I just started rolling my paper around that dowel. And you're just gonna roll and roll and roll until you get a beautiful little piece that looks like this. So you can see this is the wider part of it, and I may need to get the center a little more closed in if I really want to, which I can do by twisting. I can hold the center and begin twisting, although I wouldn't pull too hard on it because since it's just taped together, your pieces might come apart on you and pull apart. If that happens, you just need to go back and tape them together. And don't fret if it unravels or unrolls. Just roll it back together. That may happen with this project. It happened with me, and I just kind of, see right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put that piece back together. So I'm gonna take that roll, just like I showed you before, put him back inside, tape him back on there, and roll him back up. And I left him taped right there, that way he does not come unraveled. So here's where I wanna talk about color. Once you get your pieces rolled together, you can begin to kind of see a color scheme. If you decide that you want it to be primarily white, you can do that. You could start to find the rolls and see a color. I wanted to kind of go from white to yellows to golds and then into blues and kind of keep a color scheme going. So if you look at your rolls and you start to see a color scheme, that may be a really fun way to get your bowl to look very unique. So here's the fun part of this project. You can begin to push each of these little layers of magazine out. And because I've chosen to make mine wide, I have the ability to kind of push them out further. If you have skinnier pieces, you may not be able to push them as far. Be careful you don't push too far so that the whole thing comes undone. So this is a very carefully done part of this project. I do think you should probably keep your bottom flat on your bowl so that it can sit. It's a little bit like molding clay, if anybody's ever molded a bowl from clay. And you can kind of sit it, make it flat, and continue to mold it until it's the shape that you're happy with, or the design that you're happy with. Once your bowl is the size and shape you want it to be, you're gonna coat it for durability. That way it'll stand up. It may not be waterproof. I wouldn't use it for serving food, but it'll definitely keep it from its parts collapsing or the magazine pieces from coming apart on it. So you're either gonna get Mod Podge or Elmer's glue, whichever one you have on hand. Water it down a little bit and begin coating the outside of your bowl. I started with the outside first because it gave me a nice place to hold it on the inside. And then once I had finished coating the entire outside, moved to the inside of the bowl to coat it. You could set it to dry either like this or like this. And you may want to come back and do a second coat just to make sure. Make sure that it, check in occasionally, make sure it's not sticking to the surface that you've put it on, or put it on maybe a non-stick surface. And once it's coated with the Mod Podge, it comes out like this. My Mod Podge is glossy, so it's a little bit shiny. I know they have matte Mod Podge, but right now it's probably whatever you have on hand. It's a great bowl. It's super durable. Those pieces don't move anymore. And it makes a great little piece to hold any of your knickknacks and doodads. So we hope you enjoyed this project, and have fun.